John Harju is back with us on Energy Matters from the world-class Energy and Environmental Research Center at the University of North Dakota. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Scott?
Good. Nice to have you back. I understand you're going to give us a little recap on the visit of EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who was at the Energy and Environmental Research Center recently. Was it a good, productive conversation?
Yeah, I really thought so. It was, from my perspective, pretty refreshing in that he wasn't busy telling us a lot. He was really asking questions and really wanted to hear from us. And there was I think, a pretty good cross-section of North Dakota interests in the room. There was bipartisan legislative representation, good representation from our executive branch and the governor's office, ag industry, energy industry. I was the lone EERC representative on the round table. So, I thought it was a real positive. So, and in fact, to the best of our recollection, it's the first EPA administrator that's ever bothered to come to the EERC. So I thought that was kind of exciting.
Yeah, and given the history of the EERC, at one time part of the government, and the amount of research that's been done there, that's kind of embarrassing, actually, because there's a lot of good expertise. I had a chance to visit with him earlier in the day before he went up there, and just said, hey, really world-class organization, incredible amount of resources up there that could accomplish a lot of what I know you'd like to see happen in the way of improvements to the environment through technology and all the great things they're doing up there. And also, he wasn't aware of the core sample library. Obviously, he's an former Oklahoma Attorney General, so he knows the oil industry well, knows a lot of the folks in the oil industry, but I wasn't aware of the core sample library up there at UND. Asked a lot of questions about it. And then Governor Burgum was with him, and he was weighing in on it, too. A genuine curiosity is what I detected there, and it sounds like same thing from what you got, in that he's asking questions rather than pontificating. That's kind of refreshing, right?
Yeah, it's very, very, very refreshing. It's kind of unusual, when you, of course, my exposure typically to the EPA administrator has been there on a pulpit and, speaking down to the masses, and that was really not the case with this guy. He also took a quick tour of the facility and similarly was, curious and engaged and looking, like you say, at solutions to some of the vexing challenges that we see of a planet with a burgeoning population and a desire for energy. So again, it was a great visit from my perspective, Scott.
Now, obviously, in a visit like that, you don't have as much time as you'd like ever.
No.
Was there a particular area that you chose to focus on to try and school them up on?
Well, what I focused in on was, EERC is a enterprise that thrives on partnerships. And, so I chose to talk about the way we go about taking on vexing challenges as opposed to, the nuts and bolts of exactly what we're doing. I talked about the role of the federal government and of the industrial clients and stakeholders that we work with, along with the state government. So, if you look at a typical EERC project, those are really the three sectors, that are deeply engaged with us. Our state says, this is a cornerstone of our economy. The federal government speaks to, the need for indigenous resources and energy reliability and these kinds of things. And then the private sector is like, well, we'd like to do great things, but we can't compromise the bottom line and reliability. So, all of these things kind of need to coalesce. And he really seemed to understand that. The words he has been using has been cooperative federalism, and I really like those two words. They ring true to me, and to me it's the kind of thing that we like to see out of Washington.
Yeah, it's unique because of course the federal government very often likes to dig its heels into, the regulatory business of all the 50 states, and that's not federalism, right? That's not the 10th Amendment. So to say, hey, we're going to be cooperative, we're going to employ cooperative federalism, meaning, hey, we'll be cooperative here and we'll allow federalism to work as it's supposed to. I mean, that's the way it ought to be. Any kind of a spark that you saw out of any particular thing that, hey, this is going to be worth a follow-up, or anything he sunk his teeth into that you see as having the most promising follow-up, John?
Well, no, I think just generally speaking, the notion of states bringing, if you go back to that notion of cooperative federalism, and the states almost like the laboratories, right? Let's set some broad goals that we as a nation want to achieve, and let's let the states innovate and share their experiences. And I just saw a genuine desire to facilitate those kinds of things. So, that to me is very exciting. It's a very big change from what I've seen for a while. We've had a number of energy secretaries that have come and visited us here at the ERC. But like I said, this is the first EPA administrator.
Well, John, thanks for the update. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Have a great day, Scott.
Good to talk to you. UND's Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at the Energy and Environmental Research Center, John Harju, our guest on Energy Matters.